Hey guys, it's Princess A here. I've got a walkthrough of the Elsa Bomb Loop Team for Rock. This is a loop team that there are several videos out there for, and honestly, they're all fantastic. But I did want to break it down just a little bit more to make it more accessible to people who may have all of these characters, but maybe just don't know how to put the pieces together quite yet. So I'm going to break it down in a little bit more detail for you. So your main characters you're looking at are Elsa at tier 9. She's got that offense stone on her. Triton at 9, he's got that speed stone. Caterpillar at 8.5. I do have extra speed pieces on him. You want him empowered as quickly as possible. Wendy, I also have at 8.5. A lot of you have probably pulled her from your Ian team, which you already had the speed pieces for her for that team to make it work. So you probably don't need those upgrades. You already have them. And then Olaf is a straight 8. I have him with a health stone. But others who do this team find a lot of success putting a speed stone on him to make sure that he gets into that loop. I find I don't need it, but everybody's speed meter is going to be a little bit off depending on upgrades, character level, all of those different things. We are going to break down each character and the different abilities that you're going to want. We're going to start with Elsa and her basic. You are going to want this all the way up at that level 5 because it's that damage is increased by 10% per helpful effect that really gets her numbers up there. So once she's empowered and she's doing that follow-up attack with that extra 10%, you're looking at 500,000 per follow-up attack. Her special Show Yourself again has that 10% damage increase per helpful effect. So per rock head, you could get up to 1 million on each rock head from the first time you use it. We're going to go over to Triton. Now he is tier 9 here. The first one we're going to look at is his Prismatic Blessing. In raids, adjacent teammates are called to assist. This is that big one that all of us have used for Slap Zone for a while, and it does help. The second ability we're looking at is that leadership ability. Now, you could get away with level 2 here, honestly. It's really all about getting that 15% offense up with the Triton's Boon, and you're getting a little bit of a health boost, but honestly, you probably don't need it once the loop is established. Now, in terms of Triton, tier 9 is what's holding people back a lot from getting this team to work. I have seen a version of this team that does work with Triton at tier 8, but you would have to use the Headless Horseman as your spell. I do not run that version because I already had him up, but it's a possibility if you want to go search that out. Caterpillar. His A Few More Helpful Hints is the big one that you're going to want up, and it's all about granting those 3 helpful effects each turn and then granting 20% speed meter with that additional 5% when he is empowered. Now, the good thing about this is that once he's empowered, that effect goes towards every single member of your team. It does not matter who you give it to. When you're looking at Wendy, this is all about her shadow, getting as much magic on the board as quickly as possible. So I saved your shadow for you. We want those guaranteed haste to the shadows when summoned. So I have that at a level 4. I already have that ability for Sally on the Ian team. So most of you probably already have this. For her Don't You Dare, her basic, the damage doesn't matter. You're not looking at the cauldron giving damage, but you do want them to assist as much as possible. So you want that at a level 2 to get as much magic out there as possible to make that loop possible. The last one you're looking at is Why You're Very Welcome, her special right there. I have that at that level 3, that 15% speed meter increase. It's all about speed with her, making the shadows, getting those shadows to work. Now, Olaf. Really, the only one you need to be worried about here is Living the Dream. This is where you are able to extend the duration of those helpful effects that you're giving it to. So you will always be giving this to Elsa once the loop is established. That's going to basically make it so every time she gets this from Olaf, she's not taking a turn, but her helpful effects are being extended all the way up to 100 plus helpful effects, so that her basic again is getting that 10% damage increase per helpful effect. That's why this does so much damage. So these are the basic players. The next thing we're going to be taking a look at is placement. Now, placement absolutely matters in this team. The loop itself must be established with the 3 people in front, Olaf, Wendy, and Caterpillar. We're going to go into my saved teams. And what you see here, though, is different from what some people play. with my back row of characters. If you are taking a look at Elsa and Triton, you will see they are swapped from what many videos out there show you. I personally find that Elsa, for me, works better in this position. I find that she tends to break the loop for me if I have her where Triton is. If I have her here, I have no problem. A lot of people are like, well, how do you get Caterpillar enraged so quickly if Triton's not calling to assist? With the extra speed pieces I have on Caterpillar, I have not run into that issue. He's empowered in plenty of time. And this just makes it a little bit easier for me to make sure that the loop is set and Elsa doesn't break it. Now, the three people in front, Olaf has to be in that position. He must be, when facing the Titan, in the top right position. You have Wendy in the middle. You have Caterpillar when facing the Titan in the top left position. That's going to set up your turn meter. Now I am going to swap these around so Elsa is next to Olaf and Triton is next to Caterpillar. You're going to see in the video that I show that I do it both ways. It has worked for me both ways. The first half of the video was setting the loop. I have Triton in this position. In the second version, I have a run where I had Elsa in the other position. I just wanted to show you that it does work either way. And you're going to be able to see that loop set up and executed correctly. So let's go ahead and set up the loop. As we're coming in here, your turn meter, of course, is going to be a little bit different, but the basics are the same. Anytime that you have Triton come up, you're going to use that prismatic blessing as often as possible whenever it's charged. So we're using that first. Caterpillar will call to assist. Wendy is just using her basic because we don't have a cauldron out. Elsa is going to use her first special and is going to give herself haste. That's the only time you're going to do that this time. Caterpillar's already on his second turn, so he is using just his basic. Basic from Triton. You're going to get a little help from Olaf. And now we're back to basics with Elsa. You want to alternate that damage. No cauldrons are out, so just basic from Wendy. Now here's the key with this. You need to take damage or those cauldrons are not going to spawn. You need to take enough that your spells actually populate. This is where Caterpillar is going to go ahead and get enraged already. So now he is fine, and you're going to see Triton do his basic. Now here, Wendy took enough damage, continuous damage, that now we have a cauldron. She's going to shadow that cauldron. And we got lucky with the placement because Triton can call both of those to assist. Basic from Elsa. We're going to give tactics over. You can really give it to anyone you want, but I gave it to the cauldron that time around. Sometimes I give it to Wendy if she needs a little bit of a health boost. Now, this is why I use Golden Hammer right here. For whatever reason, my Wendy is squishy, 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 and so I need to bring her back. The only two people that will work with the Golden Hammer are Triton and Wendy. If any other of your teammates actually die, they cannot be brought back with that Golden Hammer because it messes up with the empowered and it messes up with the loop because Olaf might come back in a different place. Now that Caterpillar is empowered, you can use that last special to give everyone those helpful effects and increase their speed meter. Basic from Elsa. Now that we've got two cauldrons out, we really are starting to increase that magic as often as possible. Prismatic blessing. We're going to see Wendy can go ahead and shadow another cauldron. And Olaf can go ahead and give health again to everybody. We can already give magic back to everyone with Caterpillar. And then we're back to Elsa and her basic. Do not use her first special, that tornado, again, because you're just going to give her haste. You don't want her to go. Right? Prismatic blessing again. Wendy's going to be able to go again. And we're going to see if she can give magic to the cauldron. Always give it to the cauldron so it calls those other ones to assist. And that just adds more magic to the board. Caterpillar again, adding speed to everyone's turn meter. We're going to shadow one more cauldron. Now, a lot of people say 4 cauldrons is fine. I could go ahead and set up this loop if I wanted to. I personally find I just like it better with 5 cauldrons. It makes it easier for me to make sure the loop is going to be effective. And especially in this position, Elsa is not going to be anywhere near that loop when I get it set up. Basic from Elsa, and then we've got all those cauldrons again, giving so much magic out. It's increasing every time for everybody's turn meter and as well. Prismatic blessing calls all of those to assist. And now we are going to be able to shadow our 5th cauldron. We have 5 out. We're going to be ready to go ahead and start to set the loop up. Remember, you can give Caterpillar's last special to any player on the board, and it's not going to make a difference. Before we set the loop, we saw that Olaf had Elsa following her. That can't happen, so we weren't ready to set that loop yet. We need the turn meter to be a little bit different for us to make sure that before you start giving her helpful effects, that she's not next in the turn order. So now here we go. We've got Caterpillar giving magic to everyone. Wendy is then going to give the cauldrons more magic, which is then going to change our turn meter. If you are looking right here, you can see that we had Caterpillar going next instead of Elsa, whereas before Elsa was in that turn meter. Wendy giving magic to the cauldron. This is going to make it so Olaf goes next, and you can see Caterpillar's next in that order. This essentially is set the loop. So now we can start to give Olaf's first special to Elsa every single time. So now we've set the loop. It is just a rinse and repeat the entire way through. Wendy gives magic to the cauldron. This gives Olaf turn meter to give tactics and helpful effects to Elsa and extend all of those. And then Caterpillar, again, makes everyone have increased speed meter. Wendy goes again. Then Olaf goes again. This is over and over and over until you hit about 100 loops. How are you counting the loops? The easiest way to count your loops is if you are looking at Elsa and you look at this number right here. So she's right now got 5. Well, it just bumped up to 6. So then I've got Caterpillar going. Then Wendy's next in the loop, giving magic over to the cauldrons. Then Olaf goes, and you're going to see that helpful effect number increase again for Elsa. Caterpillar goes. Remember, you can give this to anybody on the field. It really doesn't matter because he's empowered. Everybody gets that helpful effect. Wendy must give magic over to the cauldrons. They all assist, which then changes the turn meter, which then gives Olaf the opportunity to extend those helpful effects on Elsa. So this is going to repeat and repeat and repeat over and over and over. So while this is repeating, I'm going to go ahead and address some situations where you are going to want to forfeit. One of the situations where you will forfeit is if the Titan does not do enough initial damage to spawn your spells. Now, a lot of it is continuous damage. So you saw in this video, initially it was not enough damage. But when Wendy took her turn, the continuous damage triggered, and then that triggered the spell so you could get it out. There are a couple other scenarios where you may feel you have to forfeit. So we talked about if you don't take enough damage to spawn those spells, you're going to want to forfeit. You need that cauldron out in time for Wendy to shadow right after the Titan's first turn. Otherwise, you won't have enough time to get enough cauldrons out. Another situation is if the Titan kills off Olaf. We all know he repopulates. He comes back a million times. Sometimes it's the super annoying part of the raid. But if he repopulates, he will break the loop. There's no way to set it from where he is currently. Even if he repopulates in the same position, you will not get the run to work. The other one is if you kill off Caterpillar, and even if you have Golden Hammer and bring him back, he needs those charges to get empowered, so it doesn't work. Golden Hammer only works if you can bring back Triton or Wendy. Those are really the main scenarios where you're going to have a forfeit scenario. I did do a graphic on this team. I will put a link in the comments so that you guys can find that if it would help you a little bit more instead of just following this. It goes into a little bit more detail about which abilities you're using, when you're using them, and your forfeit scenarios. But we are going to go ahead and get ready to break that loop. I break the loop a little bit differently than most people I've seen. I personally like to take Wendy, and instead of giving magic over to the cauldron, I have her shadow Elsa. So you can see right here, we've got Elsa. We fast forwarded. She's got 100 loops on her. We are going to shadow her right now. We've got Triton next. Remember, I switched this order for this part of the video so that you could see that it works with both positions. Triton calls, everyone. We're going to get one more time with Olaf extending those helpful effects. So we ended up with a total of 101 loops. And when all said is done, she's got a 925 hit on each of those heads with a follow-up of that 45. So really, you're talking about close to 1 million. And now it's just about spreading the damage with her basic between the two heads. You want to spread that damage to make sure that each is going down a little bit evenly. You really don't want to kill one before the other, especially if you don't end up soloing this. You want to make it easy for your club mates. We got lucky there because Olaf got instant killed first. We've got another show yourself for 872. Now remember, with every hit, the damage is going to go down slightly because you are using those helpful effects as you go. So that 10% is based off the current helpful effects. But even those follow-ups are still hitting for over 340 on each of those heads. Just her basic. You don't need to use anything else except for that. And then your show yourself, which is still after 3 times at 823 per head. We've got a lot of evades there, but again, of course, you're going to also have those follow-ups, but all the cauldrons die. Doesn't matter. You don't need them anymore. You can see here that the damage is focused a little bit more on that left side of the head. So we're going to push a little bit more towards that right now. It's because of all those follow-ups that happened. But now that we followed up, we're going to get to even that out just a little bit with those follow-ups right there. We're going back to that. Basics, show yourself still at 676, well over 700,000 once you take into account the follow-up attack. Wendy's next to go. And again, this was a very lucky run that Elsa lasted all the way to the end. It doesn't always happen, honestly. Sometimes your Elsa could be instant killed first. Now, even in that situation, you're still looking at like a 10 million to 12 million run. It won't solo rock, but you will take off a huge chunk of rock for your team. We're still looking at 627 with those follow-ups of 40,000. Lots of opportunities for Elsa to just bump up that damage as much as possible. Still using her basics. And we know that we're headed towards the end here. She, of course, will be instant defeated last. But she won't die just from damage. It will be because the Titan instant kills her. So you don't have to worry about the damage aspect of Elsa. She's got plenty to go around. This is where we know something's going to happen pretty soon. Get a couple more attacks in, but we know it's going to trigger. Try to get even out as much as possible. Now, this run did end up killing rock for my team. They did enough damage while I was in this run. But you're really just trying to get as far as you can. So we've got that damage for you. You can see right there that the damage total ended up being right at 19.8. I've seen it upwards of 22, 23 would be soloing rock completely, which is possible. To be honest, getting into the loop could take as little as 5 to 6 minutes. If you're really looking at the time spent getting into the loop for this run, it was about 6 minutes of video. I will say you're going to have to forfeit. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes. Sometimes it may take 45 minutes. It might not be worth it for your team if you're already 3/4 of the way through rock for you to spend your time on that loop and to pull these characters from other raid teams. I know that I use my Wendy on an Ian team. I know I've got a great Elsa team with Zeus. So if you're already low on rock, this might not be the team for you. But if your club is struggling with getting through rock in a reasonable amount of time, it is definitely worth all of that time to get through it. So 19.8 was the total. I'd love to know if you have any questions or if I could help you out any more with this team. Thanks a lot, guys.